Jameel Muhammad and Jeff Cardozo dive into the hobby, which is sports cards, trading cards, as well as all other collectibles, right now on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast, live from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
Hey everyone, this is Meelypod Recap Part 2, going through episodes 15 through 28. If you missed last week, where we recapped episodes 1 through 14, be sure to go give that a watch. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to drop this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling us who your favorite guest so far has been. Thanks for watching.
How many cards are you guys grading right now per service per month? So I think you're doing PSA and SGC. Are you doing more than that? Let me know.
Pretty much we've honed in on PSA and SGC, and we're doing over 10,000 cards a week. Right now, we've sent a grand total in for the public just around 900,000 cards, and that's not counting the stuff that I've personally sent in over the last 5 years or any employees have sent in. But just for the public, I mean, that gives the idea of the magnitude of what we've done. We have an API integrated website with DSA that updates the customers, because it's literally impossible to update 5,000, 6,000 people at any given time. So we kind of got that developed, which took a while, because you're explaining a process that the normal person doesn't understand, to the web developer. And it was a very unique, system we had built. And it took a lot of, hey, this doesn't work, this does work. But we finally got it pretty much automated to where it's completely transparent. We're doing all the work for the same price as if you went to PSA and paid the same price. As if you had the membership, which is $250 a year. So it's like, it just makes more sense, to go through us. And it's, that's kind of why I did it in the first place, because I was like, it makes sense for the customer. It's an essential need, like you said. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to do cards full time, right? Like, what happens if the market goes up or down? But people will always need grading. People will always need consignment, no matter where the market's at. So like for me, that stability and security is what made me take the full jump into, hey, this can be done if you work hard and do it right.
It's interesting having grown up with sneakers, and then obviously having started StockX, and then seeing the evolution of the sneaker industry over the last, say, decade. 2011, 2012 is kind of the sneaker industry as we know it today has really started to grow. There's like cards, like any market, it goes up and down a little bit, but we had this massive run post-pandemic, like cards, like everything else. And then like many consumer goods right now and collectibles, we're kind of in a lull. But sneakers as a whole, you still have Nike and Adidas, and you have this massive retail industry, which drives the resale market and the collector market. There was a moment where we were trying to quantify how large the resale sneaker market was right when we started StockX. And we figured out that it was maybe about $1 billion. Over the next couple of years, maybe that grows 3, 4, 5x, whatever, 4 or 5 billion, somewhere in that range. Doesn't matter. The retail sneaker market is 100 billion or more, right? When you look at the global sneaker market across. And fundamentally, these two markets are converging. And this is the same way. And just think about, how trading cards, there are no resale and retail. It's just sort of, you have this one market. And I think we're seeing this across a lot of collectible markets where these things just, become one market. So what's the potential? I mean, people aren't going to stop wearing sneakers. On the flip side of that, at some point, how many Air Jordans can someone buy? You do have issues with the fact that, Kanye leaving Adidas and everything that's happened there. So, it kind of cuts both ways. But I mean, I'm not selling all my sneakers. They're in another room, by the way, for the viewers. This is it's hard to put sneakers back here as well. So look, all this stuff is the same. Trading cards, sneakers, collectible toys. It's all supply and demand, collectors, resale value, what are long-term true collectibles that people put real, value and importance to. And, for us, we created this brand, which is called Ghostwrite. Ghostwrite is what we call a blank canvas collectible toy. And the best example of this for those that who know about it is what's called Bear Bricks.
Yeah.
Bear Bricks have been the longest running, most successful collectible toy franchise forever. And the reason why is because Bear Brick is just a shape. All their collectible toys, it's IP, it's characters, it's Spider-Man, it's Cause, Astro Boy, but this is just a human body with a bare head, and so you could put Spider-Man on this, or in this case, this is just a random design. And so Bear Brick, which is made by a Japanese company called Medicom, they've been doing this for 25 years, and to have this blank canvas you can create anything on, and it gives you the opportunity to work with all the most important brands and culture, all the most important artists and companies. And so that's very much what we've done is taken Bear Brick and expanded on that. Our company, which is called Ghost Art, we mentioned, it's a kid wearing with a crown. We call this a ghost. Ghost, like Bear Brick, there's no face, there's no gender. It is not a character in and of itself. It's meant to be a skin, and you can see a lot of them behind me. But for example, this is Tyrone Biggums from the Chappelle Show, right? This is a friends and family release we did a while ago, which is just a pencil. Right. It can be anything.
I have a special guest here, as you guys can see, Michael Collins here on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast. I brought a card out from the reserves. The
I've never seen anything like this before.
There's two guys on that card, Mike.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you guys
not just two guys, brah. Yeah. You guys, you just turned this into a goat farm. It's a goat farm.
And these aren't any goats, right? These are the head goats.
These are Billy goats.
Yeah, these are the Billy goats.
These are Billy goats.
Exactly. So we got a Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan dual sign autograph card here. It's got a Sunday red jersey, right, that he wore, and then you got a white from the Wizards there. It's the only card that has the two of them on it from a basketball and golf perspective. There is some dual autographs of Michael Jordan.
There's only 25 of these cards ever made?
Yeah. And then also, it's graded really high.
I feel weird touching this, man.
It's all right.
I know it's got plastic on the outside, but it should be like, the plastic got fingerprints on it. Just ruined the value.
But I just love to know what, as you see something like this, and then you translate it to your history and all, meeting these guys, seeing these guys for the first time, the egos these guys have, the confidence these guys have. I'm sure you got some stories for us.
I mean, I will tell you a funny story. So the first time, and I think the only time they have ever played in a Pro-Am together in public was in Charlotte at the Wells Fargo. Okay. So at Quail Hollow, the two of them played on a Wednesday Pro-Am together. And there were bigger crowds there than I've seen for tournaments.
Sure.
And this is on a Pro-Am because it's them two playing.
Sure.
And then I get the assignment of you got to interview them and you going first. So, of course, it's the two Billy Goats. It's Tiger and MJ. And now I'm thinking, what am I going to do? How I'm going to start this off? And I'm thinking, because there's all kinds of media. But I'm also being a little bit selfish, and I'm like, I got to start this in a way that no one can use what I say. Mm-hmm. Because what'll happen is, when they call it a scrum, when you got a scrum like that, if you ask the wrong question, if you ask a question, any question, most of the time, the other people will steal it. Yep. And they'll use it like they asked it. So I was like, all right. So now when they're walking off, both of them, the people are coming, hey, we would love it if you would chat with Lil. And they were like, nah, we're not talking to nobody after the fact. And then they were like, the guy from Michael Collins asked him. And they were like, all right. So now when they come over, now it's even more pressure. Because I know, this is probably going to be big time. So they walk over. There's thousands of people around in the back, scream, and they're all, everybody trying to get stuff signed. All this media standing around, and they are looking at me like, what are you going to do? So I looked at both of them, and I was like, it's not very often that Moses and Jesus go into public and play golf together. Which one's which? Who's who? And both of them bust out laughing and looked at each other, and MJ was like, I ain't touching that. And both of them laughed. And everybody around was like, huh? And they all laughed in too, but they knew and then we just had a regular conversation about what it was like on the golf course for the two of them and playing in front of people and what brought them together and all that kind of stuff. But I'll never forget that initial, because everybody was on pins and needles looking around oh, how's this going down? And so to be able to break that ice, and then it was awesome. Just three dudes talking. And that happened to have 1,000 flies on the wall, like all being nosy, trying to get in our business.
Yeah.
So
Todd, a lot of people may not know, but you love cards.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to, well, a quick backstory is I get a guy coming from the back. I'm in the back room, and he comes from the back. One of the guy works in the shop, and he goes, I think Todd Golden's in the shop, like getting basketball cards. I said, really? And I think you just left. So then again, comes back again, and we have another guy named Tim, the shop. He tells me, he's like, he was so cool just talking to Todd. Basketball cards and basketball, like just in the shop.
Yeah.
And so it's a cool community in the sense that we have Coach Golden in the shop. So I want to know a little bit about kind of what your love of basketball, like where did that originate from? Because you obviously played, coaching now, where that came, and then also how does that permeate into card collecting?
Yeah, it's well, my father played freshman ball back at UMass back in the day. He was a year below Julius Erving at UMass. Wow. So, he had some great competitions and battles in practice. And then when my dad was, supposed to move up, obviously he wasn't going to get any time with Dr. J there. So he ended up kind of pivoting and going down the path of law school, which, and became an attorney for many years. But that, he got basketball into my life at a very early age. And just from, I was super fortunate. He used to take me to Suns games when I was little, growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, and just at the Jewish Community Center growing up, going to play there all the time. And that was really kind of where my love for basketball, began. And the card collecting, I feel like, was kind of that natural progression of just becoming a big fan of the NBA at that time, and then all other sports, Major League Baseball specifically as well. But, I just remember there was a store growing up called Umpire's Choice. That was the name of the card shop on 16th Street in Camelback, about, 8 minutes from my parents' house. And, if I was well behaved, my parents would give me usually like $10 every 2 weeks to go in there and rip some packs. And as you all know, generally leaving disappointed, you don't pull anything that you're super excited about, but, it was just a great hobby, and I'm very analytical. We're very analytical the way we run our program. Obviously, with all the stats and all the numbers on the back of most trading cards, that was something that I was really drawn to at a young age as well. Yeah. And, as we said earlier, just in the early 90s, kind of collecting that era of basketball and baseball, and then taking a hiatus. And really when COVID hit, that was kind of when we jumped back in and really kind of started to filter through our collection and see what we had.
Seems like a lifetime ago, and it was so different. We were dealing in 50-cent packs of Topps, Fleer, and Donruss. And then you think, the big news of 1989 is, oh my God, we're going to double the price of packs, as Upper Deck came out with $1 pack. And there was a lot of outrage. People were like, whoa, and boxes were $30. And that was a big deal back then. Literally the doubling of a price of cards was kind of just out there at the time. And owning that shop through the 90s was wild, as we had that proliferation of products that came out, and it went from Topps, Fleer, Donruss to bringing on Upper Deck, and then you got Leaf, and you got Pacific, and you got Playoff, and you got Collector's Edge, and they all have so many different variants of product that it became almost impossible to keep track of things. And it was good in a lot of ways, but it was also a rough decade. You dealt with player strikes, which were something that it really kind of hurt the industry. And just that proliferation drove a lot of people out because it became too expensive or too complicated to collect cards. But with all that being said, it was a glorious decade as well, as it brought about incredible innovation with having all these different manufacturers that wanted to stand out in the crowd. And it brought about game used cards, and brought about autographs being a regular component in products, and serial numbering. And it all began in the 90s.
Who is Kickstradamus? Tell the people who Kickstradamus is.
Man, well, for the longest time, I was just known as the guy that painted shoes for NBA players and stuff like that. And I was doing that for probably about 3 years straight. But I've been able, after COVID, to kind of like really rebrand myself and kind of break into the entire art scene. I wanted to be known as an actual professional artist, not just some guy that paints shoes. So where we are today, I'm just kind of a jack of all trades, man. I have my card art, I have my designer toys, I have my custom sneakers, I have my apparel, there's just so many. I even have my own trading card set. So there's like a lot of levels You know how they say it's like an onion. So that's kind of what we got going on over here.
How did it even start? Like, how do you just all of a sudden say, hey, so-and-so in the NBA, here's a shoe for you?
Man, that was a long time coming. I had been painting sneakers for like 12 years, up to the point where I actually like broke through in the NBA. So the first pair I did was for my boy Carl Anthony Towns when he was still probably in his second year, and he's a rising star, and he kind of took a chance on me and said, paint some of my stuff, see what you can do. And we just ran with it. And every single time I painted a pair, he wore it on the court. And probably my favorite one would have to be the one that kind of changed my life. And that would be, I believe it was 2018. I did a pair of Jason Nike Hyper Dunks. He wears a size 20, so really big shoe. And I painted that for him. He wore it. It went absolutely viral. They were putting my name and my brand and everything all over SportsCenter, ESPN. So it was a really pivotal like moment in my career. So that's why that's my favorite.
I wondered what was it like to play, for the Braves? Can you talk a little bit about the fans and being a part of Braves Nation? Because I think some people miss, how big it really is.
Yeah. First of all, I believe you guys are in Greenville or close to Greenville.
Yep.
And one of my best memory in minor leagues was playing for the Greenville Braves in 1992. We had the best team pretty much ever play in Greenville. We end up with a record of 143.
Wow.
We were the champion that year. And after we finished the championship game, the next day I was called up to the big league for the first time. And once I get to the big league, oh my God, you always dream about being in the big league and imagine how it looks like, but it's completely different once you get there and see everything in person. The bigger stadium, more fans, cameras everywhere. It was pretty amazing experience, all that, when I first got called up. But playing with the Braves, I was lucky enough to play with the best pitching staff in the 90s and early 2000. And with that, we won so many division series and was in the playoff all the time. We won a World Series in 95. So the popularity we got was so amazing, and it was so much fun to see yourself in pretty much in a billboard on every corner around the Atlanta area, and even a lot further, even Alabama and Tennessee, because the Braves are the only team pretty much all around the Southeast area until the Marlins came up. But the support from the fan from all these states, it was pretty amazing.
Switching gears here into the tech side of things, you are kind of a famous GIF, or GIF, however they say it, with this rain delay in Gainesville Regional. So when it rains, I want to know, like, do you I mean, how cool is it now that you have them? Maybe that's not something you want to pass down to your son, but
right.
You have it. So people probably text it to you.
I'm trying to hide that from
you. Yeah. So what's it like just having, a rain delay GIF, I guess is the question.
I mean, every time, like, I forgot where it rained the other day. We were in kind of a bigger game and it started raining. I'm like, here we go. Something's going to hit the internet at some point. But no, just that moment was crazy. I mean, we're trying to get through that rain delay, right? So we can keep playing. I'm trying to get through. However, I forget how many innings you needed to play in college, but no, we're trying to score runs and get out of there. I'm not trying to sit around for a rain delay and possibly give them a break. I mean, we were pushing in that game, and obviously I wanted to pitch, so I'm trying to hurry up and pitch and get through that. I was trying to get through that inning as quick as I could, and obviously had some delays with the TV and some other things were happening to have that delay happen. And I'm trying to get out there and get 3 outs and get through the game and get the guys up, hit a couple homers, and get out of there. Right? We're not trying to sit around. So, yeah,
it all worked
famous
out.
Gift.
Yeah, famous gift for.
And so I got to know, like, do you grade cards? Do you have anything graded, or do you have any collectibles?
Yeah, I've got quite a bit. Only Pokemon cards, but I sent in a lot. The first time I did it was last year. I sent in probably about 20-something cards to get graded through PSA, and I have my incognito eBay account that no one – I'm not going to say what it is because it's kind of fun. I feel like a completely normal person on that account. But, yeah, I've definitely done some trading. I've bought cards on eBay. I've sent some into PSA. Right now, I am very particular about what cards I keep, but I've got only five graded ones at the moment.
That's
all tens.
You mentioned
all tens. Wow.
Oh man, you must. I mean, Olympic gold medalist, and he knows how to grade cards. Yeah. So that's the complete package right there. I got to know, if you just mentioned Pokemon, do you have a favorite water Pokemon?
Well, if I was going to start just from the original 151, if I'm going to start with between Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle, I obviously pick Squirtle every time.
Okay.
My older brother, he's 32. He would always pick Charmander. So we're actually going to have, when my son is old enough to start crawling a little more efficiently, we're going to have a full starter Pokemon choosing day. So I have all the stuffed animals picked out, and then we'll set him up and see who he's going to pick to be a starter. If he picks Bulbasaur, it would be pretty magical, yeah.
Wow.
This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, how cool is that?
Yeah.
So you started kind of when that originated, right? Like, what made you get into it?
Sorry, they're just they're back from taking a little break out there. It's all set up outside. This is good?
Yeah,
you're
looks great.
You're great.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, dude. So a lot of my stuff, a lot of my hobbies were actually just all hand-me-downs from my older brother. So he was into skateboarding, obviously into Pokemon, a lot of the video games he was into. So like most of the music on my phone is all punk music, just because he was definitely in that scene growing up in the 90s. I was born 96, my brother's 92, so he was a lot more saturated with the 90s stuff. Because it's weird to think I'm right on the border of millennial and Gen Z, but I feel like I have nothing in common with Gen Z at all. So yeah, dude, my brother got me into Pokemon. I would play on the way to practice growing up when I was a kid, because I swam club at Bowls, and it was like a 45-minute car ride. So I would just be ripping Game Boy Advance Pokemon, dude. It was honestly so sick. It was so sick.
I mean, how do you do it? I mean, there's so many people that, obviously would kind of go in the jar and not want to fight and go through some of this stuff.
Well, I think one thing that helps me is, like, I have people that make me look forward to being alive, like whether they realize the impact in my life that they have. And it's just the relationship of people being loving and kind in general, things that they don't have to do anything special to, they don't have to do anything out of ordinary. And, like I get excited going to games, excited going out and seeing my friends and even strangers, because there's just a level of just kindness that is, engulfed around my life that makes it a lot easier. Like, I don't feel as though every single day is, I'm not going to say a 90-degree climb, but a 89-degree climb to get over the hurdle. And I think that obviously would if I felt that way, it'd be a lot more difficult, but
sure.
I haven't. And, just seeing that by showing up, having an impact on people, like, I think that is huge, not only for me, but the people around me that just say, hey man, just keep showing up. Cause it's not always about what you say, but you have an experience where you felt a certain way, positively, like, you're always going to remember that. And, if I can keep bringing those experiences out, hopefully they keep me on SEC Network for a really long time, because I'm going to keep smiling on there, even though I'll smile and somehow find a muzzle for Ron Slay. So then I think we'll balance each other out pretty well.
I bet you never thought that you would be not only building products in display cases and carry cases, but also movable seats, because I've seen many large guys using your Zion cases as rolling seats. And I'm not sure if they were designed for that, but they actually hold up these big guys pretty well, man. So I think you've been ahead of your time on that.
It is fun. Yeah, when we first came out with the Goliath case, I had a guy come up and he's like, "Watch this," and he like flipped it around and he sat on it, and I said, "Oh yeah, that's awesome," and leave it to us. Our industry is very innovative. We like to figure out ways and easier ways to do things. So. I said, "Hey man, that's awesome. That's like a seat." So then I use it as a selling point after that. Once that one guy literally showed it, I'm like, I tell anybody that was looking at it, "Hey man, this also just kind of a heads up if you're looking through some boxes, but looking at some dollar cards or whatever, and you want to have a seat for a minute, you can just flip this thing around and have a seat." But
people are going to start asking you.
Yeah, that is.
They're going to start asking you for cup holders and stuff now too, man. So you're going to have to start designing how to fabricate all this stuff, koozies.
I'm not even playing, Jameel. Literally, a guy showed me a picture of this foldable table that comes out of a luggage thing. And he's like, "You need to do this." He's like, "Because then I can just set up and basically trade on my table and then just float it back up into the luggage." And I said, "That's not a bad idea." So
from the early years, you got anything pretty sweet back there?
Yeah. From the early years, let's see what I got hanging around here. It was funny when COVID hit, like silver lining, it was like, hey, you have to build something behind being on camera, and so you have to break out memorabilia and get new memorabilia. But this was the first minor league team I worked for.
Look at
the Winston-Salem Warthogs. End of season clearance sale. It was more like these BP jerseys were going out, so all of us employees we all went in and picked one. That was our clearance sale. So yeah, that was my first job out of high school. And then the people with the Tennessee Smokies were kind enough to send me one during COVID. They're now a Cubs affiliate, but this was really all jobs I have special memories of, and all stops I have special memories of. But the Smokies one was really fun because our first couple of years we were with the Blue Jays, and they were a really good team and great people. And then the Cardinals came in, and I grew up in Missouri, and I grew up kind of a split Royals-Cardinals fan. And the first battery that we had, they said, hey, you're going to get this young catcher, and you're going to get this kind of journeyman pitcher that are going to be on your roster. And I remember our first road trip was over the Smokies, and we went from Knoxville to Zebulon, North Carolina, and there was snow in the Smokies that trip. And our 17-year-old catcher from Puerto Rico had never seen snow before. And here is a future Hall of Famer, Yadier Molina, pressed up against the window, looking out to see snow for the first time, and then would be catching curveballs and 98-mile-an-hour fastballs from Rick Ankiel.
Back in 2008, I was at the dining hall in the Olympic Village, and I was eating McDonald's because it's free. Yeah, of course you can. So I was eating, and I get a tap on my shoulder, and I look. It's Usain Bolt.
Oh man!
He's like, "Right, can I sit?" I was like, I've never been starstruck. I met Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, like all these people. I could not talk. I was like, yeah, and he just sat across from me. And he just talked about, like, nothing about running, nothing about swimming, just, like, shooting. I was like, I think I peed my pants a little bit.
Well, he also was eating McDonald's, too, because he was known for just eating whatever he wanted.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys are probably chopping on
because you couldn't really eat the food there because in Beijing, like, they were putting steroids in the meat. So people were testing positive.
Oh, my goodness.
So the only thing that we really knew was McDonald's.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
I remember Alec Baldwin, we were doing 30 Rock, and we were doing our scene, and it was in New York, and a girl across with huge knockers walked by, and he's completely stopped, and I was supposed to do my next line. He was like, hey, look at that girl, wow. I'm like, that's not in the script. What do I do? I froze. I didn't know what to do. And so we had to retake it, but it's like you just kind of like with me in swimming, like you just go up there, you know what to do, and you just do it.
What percentage of cards do you think in vintage are coming back now as non-authentic or altered or touched up or not meeting the size requirements? What do you think?
I think it's increased in the last 5 years since the popularity of those cards has gone up. Just from the shop standpoint, I'd say it's probably 10-20%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worse in Florida. No, not to throw shade, but there's just a lot of people that trim and stuff, and we see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by that? Like they're cutting the corners to make them straight?
Yeah, so I don't really know how it's done, but they'll cut the card just to kind of, sometimes they don't even look good after they do it, but to kind of make it more center, I guess.
Sharp.
Or get rid of like a bad corner or something like that.
Huh.
This is some deep dive. I've known of some certain vendors at certain shows that I always avoid and tell people don't buy from, because I've known for these people to actually split cards in half and change the backs on tobacco cards. Yeah, and they sell them raw. So anytime you go to a card show and you're buying raw vintage, I brought some tools here with me. I would recommend that you buy one of these. I don't know if you know what this is, Jeff. Don't hit me with it, okay?
Okay.
This is a digital caliper.
Okay.
And so if you go ahead and pull on that part. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
So it can tell that. It'll tell you that. And you can measure cards. I have a manual caliper. These are really cheap on Amazon. But this digital caliper I have, you'll usually measure cards to 3.5.
Okay.
And then
so
2.5.
3.5 wide?
Yep, by 2.5. And so a lot of the times when we're looking at cards, we'll take, for example, we'll measure from there to there, measure there to there, and there to there. 3 sections on the one edge and then 2 sections on the top, because we're wanting to kind of make sure that we're buying things as authentic. And sometimes there are cards that will be 0.01 off. So you might have a 3.49 and a 2.49, and that can kind of get by with grading sometimes. And that's also how they cut the cards back in the day and the presses and stuff, especially vintage. But when you're getting modern cards that are off, you're definitely in trouble with that.
Something's been tinkered.